Hello, you're watching PC Jack. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at one of Be Quiet's most popular cases with the PureBase 500DX. I was hoping to get a hold of one of Be Quiet's new cases, the 500FX series cases, but I couldn't quite get one in time for today's video. But instead, Be Quiet decided to send out the PureBase 500DX for review, and it's actually a case I've wanted to look at for quite some time, so I'm really happy to finally get hands-on with this case. As of the time of filming, you get this case for around £100 in the UK, which places it in the sort of high to mid-range for cases compared to more budget options. But you do get a lot for your money, which is most important. The PureBase 500DX is an ATX mid-tower case with support for ATX all the way down to mini ITX motherboards. The case features two built-in ARGB strips in the front panel, which is pretty much full mesh to allow for ample ventilation and direct airflow from the front. There's also another ARGB strip located in the top of the case, which can be data chained with the front panel RGB strips and connected to an ARGB header on your motherboard. The case includes not only 3 fans, but they're all 140mm Pure Wings 2 fans, with one in the front, one in the top, and one in the rear, which for a stock configuration is an excellent value in providing adequate cooling right out of the box. A quick note to say that the front panel is completely removable, despite the ARGB strips, which actually connect via a contact pad on the side, and not via a tether connection, which is extremely convenient and much less awkward. If you're looking to air cool your CPU, you can install a cooler up to 190mm in height, meaning you got a wide range of support for large air coolers. For GPU support, the case allows a maximum GPU length of 369mm. For storage, you have plenty of options with space for up to 5 2.5-inch drives or up to 2 3.5-inch drives. But even if you don't need all of these, you can easily remove these caddies with no tools required, as these use captive thumb screws. In terms of front panel connectivity, this case comes with one USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A port, one USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type C port, as well as an RGB switch to cycle through the available lighting effects. The case includes up to 3 dust filters, one along the bottom of the case, one in the front, and one on the top of the case. The rear side panel also features a sound dampening material to aid with reducing acoustics, which is always nice to see, and you can also get this case with a clear tempered glass side panel. In regards to the build experience, I had a great time assembling my test system in this case. As you can see, the case has no issues accommodating larger air coolers like the NH-D15, so you really have quite a lot of options when it comes to CPU cooling. On the rear of the motherboard tray, there are ample cutouts and tie down points for making cable management even easier, and honestly I only had to use 2 or 3 zip ties, while most of the cables were held down with the included velcro straps. One downside I noticed during the build process though, was the cable management cover. Due to using the stock cables on my power supply which are not flat, I was unable to fit my 24-pin ATX cable through the gap, or even reinstall the cover after plugging the cable in. So if you're using a bulkier 24-pin cable and not a flat cable like you get with extensions or cable replacements, then you may need to consider this when selecting your parts. Overall, I have very little complaints besides that though, and the most important thing is that I'm always happy to see the resurgence of full ventilation in the front panel of cases is becoming a lot more prominent with new releases moving forward, and to see Be Quiet following that trend is always a plus. Moving on to case thermals. For today, I've tested this case using my dedicated test system, which features an Intel Core i5-12600K and an EVGA RTX 3060 Ti Gaming XC. For additional info on my case testing methodology, please refer to the video description for more info. These are both being configured specifically for today's testing, but also to be repeatable when testing future cases in order to include more comparative data. For today's thermal testing, we are looking at noise normalized thermals, starting with the 500DX's stock configuration. So one 140mm fan in the rear, one 140mm fan in the top, and one 140mm fan in the front, meaning 2 exhausts and 1 intake for a negative pressure airflow setup. It's worth knowing that all tests have been run over a 20-minute duration in order for both components to reach an equilibrium temperature. Starting with our idle temperatures, our CPU averaged 27°C, while our GPU averaged around 33°C, and then putting a sustained multicore workload on the CPU saw our 12600K average hit 70°C, which is impressive given that we're drawing around 150 watts. Putting a sustained synthetic load on our GPU though, saw our average temperature hit 78.8°C, which is a little higher than I would like, but still well within the limit before we start to hit TJ max and begin throttling performance. Unsurprisingly with our negative pressure setup, our CPU clearly favours this as it allows the CPU to better dissipate heat with the 2 exhaust fans in the top and in the rear. But with this setup, our GPU isn't quite getting the best airflow that it could get. This could indicate that you would need more intakes for your GPU, but this will depend how warm your GPU gets anyway. Of course, this 3060 Ti only has a dual fan cooling design, so if you had something with a triple fan design, that may help you out quite a lot. Moving on to standardized case fan testing. To better compare with other cases, I have also tested the 500DX using 2 Corsair ML140 fans in the front, and 1 Corsair ML120 in the rear. These fans are used in all case tests on the channel in order to ensure reliable test data for comparison between cases. So again, starting with our idle temperatures, our CPU averaged 34°, while our GPU averaged 31°, so a slight detriment to our CPU compared to stock, but nothing to be concerned about, while our GPU idle temperature has improved ever so slightly, but sadly under load we don't see a similar improvement over stock. For our GPU under load, we saw an average of 78.3°, a 0.5°C temperature decrease over stock, while our CPU under load averaged 74°, which clearly indicates the decrease in exhaust fans can have an adverse effect on cooling, but 74°C is nothing to complain about given the multi-core load on the CPU. When switching to two 140mm fans in the front, I really expected our GPU thermals to actually improve a lot more, so it may be even beneficial to even upgrade to 3 120mm for intakes in the front, but of course this is an added cost and also will add to the actual noise levels. Our CPU did see an increase in temperatures, but provided you're using sufficient cooling, whether it's an air cooler or an AIO, it's going to be cooled perfectly fine regardless of the airflow configuration in this case. Before we close out our test results, taking a look at our current case leaderboard, we can see that at stock, the 500DX comes out on top based on CPU thermals compared to the Fractal Torrent Compact, but lags behind when it comes to GPU thermals. But switching to our standardized case fan testing, sees the Torrent Compact take the top spot when it comes to both CPU and GPU thermals. Please note that this is not a reflection of the 500DX being a poor performing case. This is purely for comparison, and this chart is intended to grow as more cases are tested on the channel. If you're curious about the Fractal Torrent Compact though, I reviewed this case a couple of months back, so I'd highly recommend checking out the full review. Switching back to the 500DX though, I've waited quite some time to test this for myself, and I have to say I'm not disappointed. At its price, you're getting something that can justify the cost with its features and performance, as well as something that is highly upgradable further down the line. As highlighted in the standardized case fan testing, the configuration for the GPU might not be the most ideal, but you can experiment with this for yourself and find the most optimal solution for yourself, and the case certainly has the adequate space for fans regardless of the setup you're going for. But besides that, I am still really pleased with the out-of-the-box performance, and if you are looking to save a bit of money, you can't go wrong with the current configuration itself. Overall, I can highly recommend the Pure Base 500DX, and if you're still on the fence about whether this is the case for yourself, rest assured that it has it where it counts and will also be a wise investment for years to come regardless of the hardware you choose to put in it. So that's it for today's video. Thanks to Be Quiet for sending this out for review, but let me know your thoughts on it down in the comments below, and if you've enjoyed the video then please feel free to leave a like before you go. I'm also planning to do an actual build in this case, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on that. If you're looking to keep up with everything I do on the channel, then feel free to check out my Twitter and Instagram at PCJack94. If you like talking more with myself and other like-minded hardware enthusiasts, then make sure to check out the PCJack Discord. If you're looking to support the channel even further though, then make sure to check out the PCJack Patreon where you can claim exclusive benefits while helping to fund everything I do on the channel for you guys. You'll find links to all those in the video description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.